know I'm a dreamer, but my heart's of gold. I had to run away high so I wouldn't come home low. Just when things went right, it doesn't mean they were always wrong. Just take this song and you'll never be left all alone. Take me to your heart, fill me in your bones. Just one more night and I'm coming off this long and winding road. I'm on my way, I'm on my way, home sweet home. Tonight, I'm on my way, I'm on my way, home sweet home. You know that I've seen too many romantic dreams up in lights falling off the silver screen. My heart's like an open book for the whole world to read. Sometimes nothing keeps me together at the seams. I'm on my way, I'm on my way, home sweet home. Tonight, I'm on my way. Just set me free. Home sweet home. Home sweet home. Home sweet home. Home sweet home.
Good morning and welcome to Everything Southwick. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How you doing?
Not too bad. You know, we were just talking ahead of time. The only bummer is, of course, like I say, you're always learning something. I learned this morning that I can actually have guests via Zoom and phone.
Yes.
So, you know, a couple of people I asked were unable to attend.
Why don't you bring that mic a little closer?
Okay.
There you go.
Some of the people I asked were unable to attend, you know, because I was under the impression, as were they, that they needed to be here. But that's actually a wonderful thing to know because, as we know, a lot of stuff is done via our Zoom and webcams and stuff. You know, you can buy a house and be involved in a lawsuit from halfway across the country now. If that's, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, so fortunately, unfortunately, you know, it's the Pete and Jason show. I think it's a fortunate thing.
Yeah, we do okay.
Yeah, we do pretty good. You know, it's a good thing that we have.
I tee you up and just let you go.
And we have that history, and you know, No, you have Mr. Didi that comes on and does his show, so you're always hearing probably from one and every couple of weeks.
Yep, and then I get tidbits from Kenny when he comes in here to work with us.
Yeah,
So
yeah, Ken. Yeah.
I'm doing okay in Southwick. I know you guys got a lot going on over there.
A lot of it's right now. It's a lot of, I wouldn't say little stuff, but a lot of manageable stuff, processes, stuff like that. So we're might as well jump right into that. So this meeting or this show today is going to be more of a current events. Hence what's everything Southwick.
Yep.
A lot of folks, as a select board member now for a year and a half, a lot of people have been coming to me about some different things, and I bring up some of these things at the meetings. One of the things I learned about Southwick, I want people to know, is I didn't really understand what being an exclusionary rule town meant for some of our zoning and rules, and basically, I'm going to put this out there.
Okay, what does that mean?
That's exactly what I'm
I have
about
no
to do.
idea what that means either.
Basically, a lot of people come forward, hey, I want to build this, I want to make this business here, I want to do that. Well, simply put, the way our bylaws are written, if it's not in there, you can't do it. So a lot of people, well, I didn't see I couldn't do this. And I was of the same mindset. I had learned this last year for some things, but I was not aware that basically, for most of our bylaws, if not all of them, don't quote me on that, I would have to research that specific fact. After talking with John Goddard, our town planner, we are an exclusionary rural town, which, as I just said, if you don't
If
see
not
it,
specifically stated, it doesn't
Exactly.
exist.
So what's interesting about that is I sat in on a planning board meeting, as I try to do as much as possible or watch them. Last week, we had the last couple weeks, I've been there because we've been having public hearings on the cannabis, the zone change.
Yep.
What we're going to do is for planning board, they've been asking, we're going to do this, but we need a date. So everybody knows, our special town meeting is going to be December 5th. At the high school auditorium, unless for some reason we hear otherwise that we can't, or excuse me, not the high school, I believe it's the high school gym, I'm sorry. Unless we hear otherwise, it could be in either of those. I guess the determination is going
Until
to be.
it's posted, it's not
Exactly,
official.
which the date is official and the location is official, but we just don't know what actual location in the school.
Which venue?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're there, and the things that are going to be, that are known, that are going to be on the town warrant for the special town meeting, is there's going to be the cannabis zoning change, which basically changed the one word in the zoning that's basically written just like that was in our cannabis bylaw, that changes from prohibited to now it's going to be allowed, which basically means we are going to decide where those facilities, once the zoning is changed, is where they're going to go. That's a big topic. I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. The other thing is going to be the actual cannabis local option tax. As everybody knows, when I brought this forward, it's about bringing in the revenue to the town. And the state allows us to set a tax rate from anywhere from 1% to 3%. Myself, I believe, and Mr. Moglen and Ms. Gale have already decided we want to go for the maximum benefit for the town. I don't want to call it disposable income, but for folks who want to, that's what I want to. That's why I'm kind of targeting this option as a revenue source. I talked about this last year. I don't see any current businesses coming to town anytime soon where they would have the immediate tax impact that this is going to have. So we're going for I'm going for 100% for the maximum tax benefit that we can get out of this.
Yep.
I still have a couple people, the older crowd, and I don't want to say older, but just the more mature crowd that, was raised in a different generation. Kind of the generation you and I were in. It was kind of that transition generation. We're Gen Xers, and the baby boomers were the big, the rules were a lot tighter back then for the baby boomers. So, and people started becoming more open-minded. So, but at the planning board meeting, I sat and talked to folks after we had a discussion over something else. which is one of the other possible coming up zone changes, town warrant articles. You know, and I tried to explain to folks, there's a lot of concerns about the kids, you know, and I brought this up, and Mr. Jaren's brought this up. I want people to know that wherever we cite these things, it's gonna be the planning board and the select board that are gonna make the decisions. And
So there's going to be a planning board permit and then a
Yeah.
special permit.
What's going to happen is, that was another thing that was discussed last week. Jessica Thornton from Planning Board, myself, and even Mr. Doherty, the chair. The consensus is we have that marijuana overlay zone. I'm sure you might not be familiar with it, but basically, when all the cannabis stuff started happening, and they allowed, they weren't going to allow recreational cannabis. The bylaws were written to allow medical and grow facilities and cultivation. When they did that, they put a specific zones that are very, you know, there's zones, just like property zones, like residential, business restricted, industrial restricted. So basically, this is the same thing. It's called the marijuana overlay zone. Unfortunately, you know, me and Mr. Moglen had a discussion, well, not a discussion, but our opinions were expressed at the meeting, and and I understand where a lot of people come from. He'd prefer to keep it in the industrial restricted, where it's kind of not off the beaten path, but a little less visible, and a lot of concerns with that are related to kids, you know, and that's one of the things I heard from a lot of folks.
Sure.
So unfortunately, the way our industrial restricted and industrial lands are in Southwick, we don't have a lot of them. You know, the two main parcels where we could possibly even stick anything would have been the dump road. I always forget the name of it. I think it's Great Brook. Where our excuse me, not dump, our transfer station is. That's right next to the notch. By the old Travel Town Trailers lot. So Southwick residents, you can abuse me later for not knowing the name of our own street, but it's just one of those roads you don't really think about.
You know how to get there, you just don't know the name of it.
Transfer station there, dump, whatever people want to call it in this day and age. So, so we're limited to that one little location there off of College Highway, and then the Hudson Drive Industrial Park. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, that piece of property that caused so much controversy several years ago, it's a good thing in some ways. Mr. Wally, I'm not sure if it's a completely done deal, but from what I understand, Mr. Wally has been able to acquire that, and that will go into, I'm assuming, Chapter 61A. I don't know that.
That's the old Southwick Country Club. Part of it.
That is actually the Carvana.
Well, yeah, that was part of the old Southwick.
No,
it's further up, down by West River Brewing.
Across from Tractor Supply.
Yep.
Where the old Coldwell barns are.
Yep.
Right off Tannery Road. So that's good. Obviously, that's great in one aspect, because that's one of the things that people talked about during the master plan. They want to keep Southwick's small town feel while bringing in the right businesses and businesses that fit the vision that everybody has. Everybody's visions are a little bit different. I mean,
other communities have done this, except the problem with that is, like, the community that did it the most was Longmeadow, where the only businesses they allowed in were service businesses.
Yes.
But the residential tax rate is through the roof.
Well, we've been very fortunate. You know, we've had to raise rates. As a matter of fact, I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. The sewer rates were finally pretty much figured out. We've got to nail a few things down, but Diane and Randy came up with a bunch of great options. Actually, I said to them the other night, you gave me so many options. It's like one of those restaurants where they've got too many things on it. You don't know what to pick from. So, but we narrowed it down to basically one or two, and then we maybe made a consensus, even though I was originally wanting to go for a little bit higher, and that's based on money as well. But to go back to what I was talking about before, with the zones, you know, we're limited with where they can go. So during excuse me, I just have a little itch in my ear.
Would you talk about, did the planning board mention anything about making another industrial park? Because I know
Well-
that's always controversial. Like in Westfield, they've talking about it, like making another industrial park on the north side.
I lived on the north side before I moved back to Southwick. I know.
Right, so like, there's always been talk about there was another plot of land they talked about making industrial park, and I know everybody freaked out about it, and I'm like, so, but you want the tax rate to be
And
lower?
that
you
is,
don't want
there's the problem with what happened with the Indus, Culbro, the former planned Carvana spot.
Yep.
Was after everybody realized they didn't want to sell it in one big chunk, and it would probably be more marketable to the town as a population and what they wanted if they split it up. That plan came to fruition. Mr. Levesque presented it on behalf of the property owners. They were going to split it up into 5 parcels. And eventually that got put on the books, but shortly thereafter, I guess Mr. Wally approached Indus and they sold. That's what I've heard, and it's going to be farmed for the time being. I am going to approach.
Well,
Mr.
and Wally's also an expanding business too. They're building a huge new building, right?
Yes, they're putting a big. Doug, Doug would be better to tell you this.
Right,
I think it's 200.
Oh, it's huge.
200,000 square feet.
But that's good. But that's good for the town itself.
I was talking to Doug over the last few years and other people. I remember, you probably remember, when Wally Computer was a little corner store at the top of the hill by Roma's, where Roma's actually used to be when I was even younger. So in that.
Right. No, I remember Paul's brother worked with my aunt at UMass in the computer department.
Yep. And they're growing.
And when they just literally Paul had left UMass to start the business.
Yeah, it's
like seriously, that's how far back I go.
And they're international. They're everywhere.
Yep.
It's funny to think they
quietly.
Exactly. They started as a little corner office, a little corner shop, and great for them. They've done a great job. They bring a lot to the town. They're the biggest employer minus the school, I believe.
I'm sure they are.
And I can't say enough good about the Wallies in general. John's on the park and rec, has been donated tons of hours and time. The park, Wally Park itself.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not get too far off track.
Right.
So what you said about the industrial land is true. A lot of people want to keep that small town feel, but like when I ran for this office, I said, we can't continue to save everything. Everybody would love to, but somewhere, like you just said, the tax rate, it's going to fall back on you guys.
Well, the people got to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's got to be balanced.
They say they want a bedroom community, but yet they don't want to pay the taxes commensurate with a bedroom community. Right? Because, I know, because my ex-in-laws lived in Long Meadow, and they made that conscious choice. They knew they were going to pay more than elsewhere, but they wanted the community, the school system, stuff like that. So they made that choice.
This is true.
Nowadays, people want the services and amenities, and they don't want to pay for it.
We all don't want to pay for things.
I know, but they don't want to pay. How about this?
Yeah,
they don't want to pay a commensurate amount.
And it's tough, especially now. One of the things in my own neighborhood, I've seen that with the assessor's values. That's another thing that's been coming up. Is my neighborhood is still incomplete. I've had my residents in the neighborhood present to the town. We want a tax abatement because one, we're not getting snow plows. They're not. The private contractor's doing it. And we don't have all our sidewalks. So, yeah, that's what you hear a lot is like, what am I getting for my tax money? And in some cases, a lot of people, you aren't getting a lot. Not like what you get for Westfield or some of the towns that have more services.
It's a different setup.
And that's what I've said to people. You look at Westfield and the commercial tax rate. That was one of the things that, again, I want to finish up what I was talking about, and then I'll go to all the other different things that are all kind of tied to all of this.
Sure.
So the industrial, as I said to Mr. Mogan during the meeting at the planning board when they asked for public official comment, after myself, Doug, and Diane all made our comments about where we would like to see it or how we would like to see it controlled and how many licenses. The general consensus, the total unanimous consensus from the 3 select board members is we're going to start probably with 2 licenses, and then we can always adjust that accordingly. That's where we want to go with it. And we don't want to restrict if some great business comes to town and they want to build and it fits the town mold and they want to build a cannabis amusement park and it's going to bring us money like Six Flags, I'd consider it. And I mean, but I want to be I've always said I want to be the type of person where if we can do it and it's within our rights to do it by our bylaws and we're not violating any state laws or regulations, we should entertain just about anything. And make sure everything's properly vetted and out in the air and go from there. But so the industrial park's tough. What's going to happen is, they've been mining sand out of that since you and I were, I think, not born, or pretty darn close to that. So it's all, believe it or not, Tilcon is almost done with the excavating the usable sand and fill that they're allowed to take out of there. As part of that, there's a study and a plan being put together to hook Hudson Drive and Sam West Road together. It's in the works. Like Randy said, it's probably something that unless we were able to get all sorts of approval, get the state to buy off on it, all the permits and regulations we need to fit, it's probably about 9 years down the road. I'd like to see it happen sooner because there's some benefits that could come from it. That will open up the back portion of the sand pits, which is more industrial land. And then that whole corner is basically carved out as our industrial park, largest industrial parcel.
Okay.
So, and unfortunately, like I said, to go back to where we started with this, that was what I said to Mr. Moglen. I said, I totally understand his concerns, but I also mentioned here in Westfield, you guys have HECA. Now, nobody, unless you're a full-fledged cannabis aficionado, knows it's there, and it's way off the beaten path.
Well, and that's part of the problem. And the other thing was it took them forever. They had one of the first licenses, I think, in the state, and it did not take them. That took them forever to get that place up and running. I remember when I was still working for the tech center. This was maybe 8 years ago.
Has it been that long already?
Yeah, because we were transitioning the radio system back then.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah.
When they were building it, so it took them that long, 5 years after that, to open it up.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I think they finally opened the doors. Yeah,
but that was like 5 or 6 years after they were granted the permit, and they had to get extensions. I remember it was a long time for them to get that up. And then also the problem is that's, for me on the north side, that's creating a traffic hazard.
You have no, everybody
I do
knows,
have an idea.
Well, yes, you do. Everybody knows that I'm a Westfield police officer for my full-time employment.
That's the other thing you don't want to do, is if you don't want to create a traffic hazard.
Correct. And fortunately for us,
the industrial park has a traffic light. Right.
So that helps. And with now a traffic light at the school, which they didn't have when I was growing up,
right?
It creates those natural traffic breaks. That's one of the things I've said for here in Westfield. Even though I'm not a Westfield resident anymore, as a Westfield officer, they need to stick another traffic light somewhere between the turnpike.
I'm hoping they build it at the new Air Force Gate, because that would serve the industrial park and the Air Force Gate.
Oh, the backside, you mean?
No, they're building a new gate out front.
North Road? On Southampton Road?
Yes.
Where the Army facility is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that little gate out there. That's going to be the new main gate.
That's going to be the main.
It's in process now. So that intersection would serve the industrial park to the left.
Service Star.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That would be a perfect spot for a traffic light.
Even if they had to do similar like they did at the bottom of Springdale and Union, 2 lights to help.
I've sent a message to the DOT that I want that.
Well, I've sent messages to the DOT either as a police officer,
listen to,
I've still been trying to get the intersection at Home Depot mode for the last 10 years. I've almost been hit in my personal vehicle and cruisers because you can turn right on that, but you can't see very well.
Right.
So, let's go back to Southwick. Our industrial lands are not minimal, but limited. And if we're going to get the maximum benefit out of what this service, you don't want to be in Cannabis Control Commission, and the rules are all in place, and we can actually put more ourselves. The signage, they're very restricted. They don't want these things to basically be like beacons of flashing lights and,
Sure,
and,
yeah.
and spotlights like they used to have at the Big E back in the day. Hey, here's the cannabis dispensary. And
Right.
but we want to put it somewhere where it's going to be the most beneficial for the reason we brought it in. I brought it in to bring in some revenue, and you want to bring business into town. You want them to succeed. So during the planning board meeting, Ms. Thornton, and she asked, and I had thought about this from the get-go, she asked to remove the marijuana overlay zone. So there was some hemming and hawing. We'll see where that goes. I am not 100% sure if the marijuana overlay zone, I think it does have to go in front of town meeting to completely rescind it. If that's the case, I don't think we'd get that into this special town meeting, which would not restrict us from starting to open up businesses, but it would restrict as to where we could put them for now.
Yep.
And I'm of the mindset, like I said, if it's something we can do and we're within our rules, that's why we have a planning board. That's why we have a board of appeals. That's why we have a select board. That's why we have a conservation commission. Once this thing is vetted through all these people, and what's tough is with the way the public meeting laws are, it makes it very difficult for the applicants sometimes because they go to one place and they don't get what they need. But and they have to run around, and it's even for me, there's things that I've had, it's like, well, like I said, the exclusionary rule. There's a lot of things that have come up as I've been a select board member and sitting on some of these other town boards and meetings. And like I said, it's like, well, where the, I'm not going to swear, but where the heck can I find that? I literally during the meeting when they were talking about something else, Mr. Mogul, I'm looking through the E-codes and the bylaws, and I'm like, where do I find that? I would have never known something like what this was. But so that's where we're going with the town meeting. I mean, we got way off track.
I know, it happens.
But
All right, so you ready to take a break and refocus?
yes, and that's something everybody knows Jason Pro needs to do.
I get up
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Noble Hospital, a brand new name for a Westfield institution which is improving the health of our community every day with quality and compassion. Noble Hospital and Bay State Health, better together.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back.
And we are back. All right, Pete. So let's pick up where we left off. So the town meeting. I want to wrap that stuff up. So I want to talk about some of the more exciting things in town.
You want to bring the mic even closer?
It's my fault. I lean back and try to get comfortable.
Yeah, that's fine.
So
I'm trying to adjust it for where you're comfortable.
yeah. So the other things, like I said, that are going to go on the town meeting warrant are possible zone change for Crepes Tea House. There's been some, I don't know if you'd call it controversy, but issues with some structures that were built. Unfortunately, a lot of this, the permitting and activity that took place for this was done during the COVID period where people couldn't get in. I learned that because I really wanted to dig into some of the issues that have been coming up in front of the different boards, committees, and see what I can do, if anything.
How is that currently zoned? Is that a...
It is, believe it or not, the old Tumble Inn is zoned agricultural conservation land. It is a pre-existing, non-conforming parcel of land.
Okay.
So basically that means because it was there and it was allowed and nobody did anything otherwise
Right.
with it, you can use that parcel as it was used. But because it's pre-existing non-conforming, they can't change the footprint. They can't really technically add, even they want to add a newer freezer and a shed or something like that. They have to go in front of the planning board to get permission for anything and everything, which in some ways is good. This has brought this to my attention and others' attention that,
Right.
this is one of those things that if it's not clear or people don't understand as I did, the exclusionary rule or certain things, they're like, well, it doesn't say I can't do that. That's to me, this is where some of these things need to be. It'd be better to say, you can't do this.
X, Y, and Z.
X, Y, and Z. I want to simplify some of this stuff. That's what I've said to my board members at the select board meeting. I want to make the whole process of the different avenues you need to use in town hall, and Diane talked about this, I think, during her campaign, and she's talked about this even before when she was talking to me when I was running. We need to make town hall a little more user-friendly. It's just kind of, not that their people aren't friendly, just that it's,
Do they have a round table like they have in Westfield?
That was one of the things that I talked about at the beginning, is that we need to have a little bit more of multi-board interaction, I guess you would call it. But again, if that was something that's like a subcommittee, we have to worry about public meeting laws, stuff like that.
Well, not even the elected committees. I think the round table in Westfield is department heads. And so a new business comes in and all the department heads are there and going, well, we want to do this business. And they go, you got to go here, here, and here.
Well, that's a prime
and the
example.
here, and here are all in the room.
You guys have community development, CDC, right? Or is it EDC?
Community development, yeah.
We have an EDC, but unfortunately, when I got on, I'm like, all right, we have an economic. So how can we?
But
bring
it's not even.
in?
I don't think it's that. I think it's just the department heads get together once a
Well,
month.
that's something that they
it's
want to do.
scheduled in.
The EDC, that was a big story a while back. We added additional members, and I think it's actually extremely beneficial because now it's a lot easier to get a quorum and whatnot. Because they had a very difficult time rounding people up. for the different meetings a lot of times. So one of the things the Economic Development Committee wants to do, as well as I've wanted to do, is have a way to welcome to Southwick, come to Southwick, and we're going to help you and guide you. Unfortunately, that's not the previous Economic Development Committee. Kind of, they weren't. I don't want to pick on anybody, but they didn't really have any direction, and I don't think anybody gave them along the way. I mean, our Economic Development Committee budget for our committee is, you can't do anything with it. That's the one. It's tough because.
Right, so they weren't proactive.
No, they did what they could, but
Yeah.
there was a lot of confusion. So now there's a lot of actual business owners that are former business owners or people that were involved in business and management that are on that board and committee. And we've got a great chair, Inga Hotaling. She's the one that did the Shop Small thing in Southwick last holidays with the different vendors, and then you could win whatever the prize was. I'm not 100% sure. She did that on her own with EDC, and she's amazing. She's very, very knowledgeable. We put on Frank Grillo. He bought the marina, the launch. We have Craig Samuelson on there. He's one of the presidents and managing directors of Shepherd Corporation, which owns the Notch and the storage facility. And, so we've got a good mix of people on that board now. And they're having a lot more meetings, and they've already had 3 in a little over a month, or a little over 2 months, I'm sorry. I think they have one tonight, which unfortunately I don't think I'm going to be able to attend. I might be able to go to the beginning, but we're going to be at a Rotary, myself and Diane, I'm not sure if Doug, we're going to be at the Rotary dinner tonight at Tucker's.
So back to the town meeting warrant. What is Crepes looking to do there?
Initially they want to break up the property, is what the zoning. They basically want to utilize everything that's not in the agricultural conservation area in the back. Basically everything on the backside of the brook would still be AC zoned. They're looking, I think, to do business restricted in the front.
They're looking for a zoning change.
Yes. So that the structures they built in the back, the gazebos, that's been the controversy with the neighbors. I was at the meeting, and I've listened to this controversy now for a year. So at the meeting, when they asked for, again, official input, I said, what I really want to hear from is the residents, the people that are concerned about what happened. And because nobody could really tell me what they wanted. I didn't hear what anybody wanted. And I don't think anybody who's doing a business of that sort could fix something if they don't know what needs to be fixed. So, because he had gone through all the proper permitting and whatnot, I guess I found after doing the research, the biggest issue is what was presented and the sizes they were presented and what they were presented as. They're not quite that. They're a little bit more. So obviously people are upset about that. And I'm also the type of person, I'm not a big fan of, the old adage, it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. Well, I'm not a big fan of that. And I'm also a fan of holding people accountable and responsible. If you make a mistake, own up to it and say, how can I fix it? So I asked the residents that were there. They spoke their piece. I think they still didn't tell me really what they want. Nobody wants to shut down the Crepes Tea House, but they were concerned with the zoning change. Basically, as long as it was permitted and he got a permit, he could do similar to what they said he kind of did this last time, where he got a building permit, got all the additional conservation conditions and whatever he had to do, and then kind of tweaked it to fit his needs a little bit more than he should have. That is what I'm getting from all the research I've done. And like I said, I asked the folks what they wanted there. Because I said, you guys voted me in to speak on your behalf or represent you. So what do you want? They spoke. They still didn't really tell me or Mr. Rubiscus, the owner of Crepes Tea House, what they wanted. But I was disappointed in his response. I mean, I'm not going to pick on anybody. Again, I'm not going to, if I was one of them, I would have been disappointed in the response. Rather than, my response would have been, I would have turned around and said, what can I do to work with you? That's all there's a lot. One of the things you know me, I would rather spend the time sitting for an hour, 2 hours when I go to my calls as a police officer. I will do everything I can to solve that problem. That's what I'm there for.
Right. So there's only a couple of neighbors, though, in that area.
Yes.
I mean, that would be directly affected, no? Because there's houses a little ways. I'm looking at it on a map.
Yes, there's one right there.
There's some right across the street.
Mm-hmm.
There's another business across the street.
That was the old Aero. I don't know if Aero Fuel Oil. Their office is now on College Highway by King Yen's.
Right, but there's a lot of like old cars
Yep.
and trucks
Yep,
and stuff back there.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know if that's.
And then there's Great Brook Lane, which connects through to a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And there's two houses directly across the street. So I'm trying to figure
There's-
out. And there's some just to the west of him.
And that's why I asked. Really, the most affected neighbor in my
But
opinion.
like all around him is trees. So
Yeah.
the only people that are sighted across from it that can see what's going on are the houses directly across, and even they're kind of blocked by trees too. So
And that's why I asked, what could he do? Do they want him to build a sound wall or put up bushes? I'm going to reach out to folks again that are concerned and say,
okay,
I still
I'm just
didn't-
trying to I'm looking at the maps and I'm going, well,
No,
okay,
that's why I asked.
yeah, right.
And again, the only thing as a business owner and who wants to continue to stay in the community and he does the Crepes Tea House is great. I've been there a couple times.
Yeah,
It's a nice
great
business.
reputation. Yeah,
And that's I wish Mr. Rubiscus had turned around and said to the residents, what can I do to make this work? Rather than I'm not a big fan of the pointing the fingers type
I kind of
thing.
wonder when it gets to the point of people are complaining and it gets to a board level. I wonder if he's tried and without success. And that's the backstory you don't really know. Right?
Exactly. There's always two sides to every story, and
Yeah,
somewhere
sure.
in the middle lies the truth.
Yep.
So, and I'm not calling anybody a liar.
Right. No. That's what I'm saying. You might not be
Don't know.
educated
That's why
into the history of it.
I went
Yeah.
to the town hall a couple days ago and said, hey, what are the real issues? Because Mr. Doherty brought it up. As far as we're all aware, all the permits and things that he had to do via this were done. And I guess, the issues were basically, from what I understand, with what he built was not what he presented and exactly where he presented it.
Gotcha. Okay. I
Yep.
understand that. I gotcha.
So there's that one, and that's what he'd like to do, is to be able to have a little more freedom to do what he wants to do to expand or
He wants to build his business.
yes, build his business. I mean, that's the best way to put it. And I don't think anybody faults him or wants him to not do that. I know, interestingly enough, I grew up in Southwick, in Granville, that back there where they're doing all that stuff, there was a volleyball court there, and we used to play at night. It was open with lights.
When it was a bar. Yeah.
When it was a bar, and we would play there at night. So the noise, I haven't heard anything about specific noise. It's just, I think a lot of people are just upset with forgiveness rather than permission or presenting yourself otherwise.
Yeah, sure. I get that.
So other than that, like I said, there's the tax rate, and again, the overlay zone. I'm not on the planning board. I'm not 100% sure if that's a town meeting item. I think it is, because when we removed the cellular overlay zone, that had to be voted on at town meeting. My first town meeting, right after I got elected. So
Yeah, because it's almost like a home rule petition.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where those things are. What else do we got going on?
I'm getting hungry looking at his menu, by the way.
So I want to focus on a couple. So a couple of good things or interesting things that are going on. The Sofinowski Land Preserve, if anybody's interested, there's an autumn stargazing. This what's the 20th is what, Saturday? Or Friday?
Yep.
So if there's cloud or rains, October 21st or 22nd will be the cloud and rain date. Telescopes are going to be provided. So there's autumn stargazing at the Sofinowski Land Preserve. As everybody knows, Mr. Dede is well into building the new community food pantry.
That we'll be talking about it in his show, but It's amazing how the community pulled together, and it's nice to know that spirit still exists.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Mr. DD Joe, whatever you want to call him.
You can call him Joe. I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah. He always calls me young man, so I call him Mr. DD.
Okay.
So, because it's like, you're 4 years older than me, but if you want to call me a young man, hey, great.
You look younger, so.
Well,
you
he
know.
kind of looks like Santa Claus right now. Did you notice that?
I saw the beard
I
grow.
think
He does the beard for the fall.
He's getting ready for the Santa and the Angry Elf. I just don't know which one he is. So to go back to his community food pantry,
That's amazing how well
they
that's
are
coming
looking
together.
for donations for their new walk-in freezer. So anybody that's interested in donating to the community food pantry, they are looking for donations. So to add to the food bank, to allow them to keep items that might be perishable a little bit longer, or things that they can store and freeze and have for long, be available.
Yep.
So there's that. Let's see what else. And like I said, Joe does a great job with the Civic Fund. They do so much for the town. I commend him immensely. I wish, that's one of those things where I wish I had the resources to be able to do something like that, or to help him even more, because it's folks like that make the town the town.
Yep.
So,
Absolutely.
And Joe, Southwick Civic Fund is about Southwick. So, he does a great job with it.
Yep.
He does have his, let's see, he's got his Christmas is coming. So the Santa and the Angry Elf toy donation's coming up.
I think he was partnering with somebody for the Thanksgiving dinner this year.
Yeah.
He was talking about his show at the beginning of the month. He's partnering with somebody for that. I think it's one of the churches. He's going to partner with them for the Thanksgiving dinner.
The church in the center of town, which I think is, I can't.
Anyways, go back and watch Joe's show, and you'll figure out.
Yeah, there you go. He's also
find
got
the Southwick Civic Fund on the social media. I think he's on. They're on Facebook and Instagram.
SouthwickCivicFund.org is his website.
Gotcha.
So that's
there you
simple.
go. Okay.
So and at he's got the Winter Forest and Craft Fair coming up, where you can purchase the trees for the donations, and they so I did that last year, and Joe was very nice I was unable to get to my tree to undecorate it. He saved all my decorations for me, and the only condition was I have to buy 2 trees this year. So,
okay.
So I will be buying 2 trees.
That's fair.
So, and it's like I said, he does a great job, and absolutely, I have no problem with that. Who knows? Maybe I'll buy 3, but don't quote me on that, Joe.
You just said it. You're in trouble now.
So
you better get somebody to go in with you on the 3rd tree.
So there's that stuff going on. Like I said, some of the other stuff, I want folks to come to me with their concerns, like I've always said, for anything, like stuff like this. It'd be good to have a round table, and actually now that we're back into full swing, I said it last time, I have not scheduled one. I've been trying to wrap up a lot of stuff, as well as physical therapy, trying to get back to work, which hopefully will happen next month. So I've had a lot of extra stuff that's kind of, and like Miss Matthews Kane was walking out of here from her meeting and show
her interview,
interview, and as she said when she got into it, and just like I've said to people, you look at it, you see and it's like, oh, that's easy. I can just show.
I try to tell everybody, no, it's not.
I wouldn't say it's not easy.
It's not insurmountable.
No, it's just takes work.
Yep.
It's a learning, especially when you come in. A lot of people come in baby steps. I jumped in head first without any water, so it's been a learning process, and it's going to continue to be a learning process. I'm sure even Joe, after 9 years. He would tell you, and Doug and Mr. Fox prior to that, you don't know everything. You're never going to know everything. You learn something new every day. Like I can actually have people call or use Zoom on the next time I come here.
Yep. So
let's see what else is left. Municipal aggregation. A lot of people have asked what's going on with that. We have finally gotten to the point. We have signed. We partnered with Beacon Industries as our consultant. Colonial Power Group is the aggregator broker that we picked. I was talking with Cliff Clark yesterday. He's like, well, how did this happen? The way the aggregation program works is we're not actually purchasing really anything. so that we don't actually have to go out for an RFP to select our broker. So there's three main brokers in town, and during all my research, Colonial Power Group came up the most. Because Cliff caught me in my car and was asking me questions, and sometimes that's the hardest thing, driving and not having everything in front of you. So when the board tasked me with this, I want everybody to know I went with Colonial Power Group, presented it to the board. The board could have shot it down, and that's why we brought in the consultant to make sure everything was vetted. She reviewed the contract. She tweaked it to the best benefit of the town. It was vetted by town council. So that's how we got to that point. In case the story some kind of sounds a little, and I'm not saying Cliff would skew it, but sometimes it sounds different. It's like a text message that you don't get the context or voice inflection without having that person there.
Yep.
So I can refer to this now so that people will know. But ultimately, the board tasked me with it. I decided this was the way to go. Brought it to the board, brought it to the town, and now the next steps is Colonial will start reaching out, putting together information for the different contracts, the different people, the amount of load that the town draws, start shopping around for an actual power supplier, that's their job. And they get 1/10 of every cent on the bill, or 1/10 of 1 cent on every kilowatt hour. I forget the exact, but it's every kilowatt hour they get 1/10 of 1 cent. So that's the bill. That's how they actually are paid. It's worked into that. So, and if this were to fail, the town, it's basically a risk-free, other than we paid for a consultant. If it does, but everybody who's gone through this has had very good luck with it. West Springfield, and there's a lot of western towns here and out in Western Mass, and Colonial pretty much is the primary provider out here. There's a few in the upper Hampshire and Worcester County. Is it
Okay.
that used? But our consultant, that's her job. She's an energy consultant, and she vetted them. So I was happy with them. They've been very helpful. Matter of fact, at the municipal conference in January, which there will be another one this January, one of the things that was on the schedule was a meeting, and that's Mr. Capadona was presented by the Massachusetts Municipal Association, and obviously, and they are not going to put anybody out in front of people, and that's not legit.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
So, so that's there. So, unfortunately, the way the state process goes is even after we get everything through, we have our meetings and the town residents can come or have their input. Again, now that we've agreed to work with Colonial Power Group,
Yep.
they're basically the primary point of contact. We'll still be listed as a phone number, but we'll have a phone number where people can call. They're going to get mailers. They're going to get information, and anybody who has any concern can call me or email me at jperone@southwickma.gov. I have no problem. My phone number is 413-454-3269. You have an issue, I would say if you call me and you don't hear back from me, text me as well. I'm one of those people, my ex-wife and my current wife, you never look at your phone. I don't live for my phone. You know, it's a primary point of everybody's life, but I've always been that way. If I'm busy, if I'm working, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'll get to it when I get to it. So leave me a message, email me, and text me if you need me that way. So the aggregation's there. We talked about the town meeting. Talked about some of the good stuff Joe's doing, and we're pretty much close to.
I think
we only got about 5 minutes left, so I'm just trying to
Got
jog
about
my
2
memory.
minutes left.
Even better. So, a couple other things. We're in the process now. I want to thank Carl Steinhardt. He's getting ready to wrap up 34 years in March.
That's amazing.
Actually, his actual retirement date, it was right at the select board meeting. It's not a secret. His actual retirement date is May 10th, 2024. And I cursed him for leaving me before my next town meeting. Although I did say to him, I know where you live, and if I need you, I'm going to come find you.
I'm sure he'll be. I'm sure he won't be that far.
No,
away.
Carl's, and he's been great for guidance and helping me learn what I've been able to learn in this short time. And I'm just disappointed that I'm not going to have his knowledge to turn to all the time. I mean,
Southwick has been incredibly lucky to have a town manager that long.
You don't see it. And that's, I honestly, whoever we get, I really don't. It's like a mayor type thing, or, I see Southwick. I hate to say it. A lot of people will probably use us as a stepping stone. I hope not. I hope we get somebody that's great and loves the town like Carl and stays and gets everything, and we can give them everything they want, and they can give us everything we need. But we'll see. That's what we're putting together. We put together names in different groups. That we're going to put together a pre-screening committee.
Yep.
And then whenever we pick we're down to 2. That's all I can say of the different our proposals for the groups to come in and help us find our next town administrator, or excuse me, chief administrative officer. We do not have a town administrator.
Yep. Well, yeah.
Same thing, more or less, but
Yeah,
same but
just
different.
the way it's titled in Southwick.
Yep. So we're there with that. Tell you, that's a daunting and almost intimidating little bit to come in as your first term on the select board, and you got to pick a guy replace a guy that's been there for 34 years.
Yep.
So not a process that I'm afraid to do, but I want to make sure this thing is done right, and I'm sure everybody else does too.
And on that note, I think we're done.
Yeah, it looks that way. It's 8:59 on your clock. So, but I'll be back in December, right? We'll do it in
Yep.
December. It's Christmas time, which everybody who knows me deeply knows that's one of my favorite time of year. So I will make it interesting.
All right.
So
see you in a couple of months.
All right, Pete. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.